Hi everyone, Deacon Anthony Cioe here, and this is the next installment of our Know, Love, and Serve series. So just as a reminder, what we're doing is we're speaking to parishioners about their faith, and we're just asking these simple questions. How did you come to know the Lord? You know, what's the faith story? Have you felt God's love in your life? How do you share that love with others? And then how do you serve others? So today I have a very special guest with me. We're going to be speaking with Erin Ehrenworth. Erin, how are you? First of all, thank you for being with me. Really do appreciate it. Could you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
First and foremost, I'm a mom of 3 sons.
Wow, 3 sons.
3 sons.
How old are they?
16, 13, and 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, it is awesome.
You really are outnumbered in your house, aren't
I'm
you?
very outnumbered,
Mhm,
yes.
mhm.
I've been married to my husband for almost 17 years. We are an interfaith marriage. He was raised Jewish.
Okay.
And I'm a teacher. I'm a reading specialist.
Oh, really?
Yes.
In Washington Township?
In Gloucester Township.
In Gloucester Township?
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Blackwood, right down the street.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, and I have 3 very active boys, and they keep me busy.
Sure sounds. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
And I also know that you help out at religious education here at St. Peter and Paul, right?
Yes, I absolutely love Rose.
Mm-hmm.
She's asked me several times to come help. She actually emailed me while we were in Italy last summer.
Really?
Saying, can you please come
Mhm.
help?
Mhm.
She needed an extra person. So whenever she emails, I can't say no.
I
Or
know.
asks.
Now, you said you were in Italy, and I
Yes.
love Italy. Where were you? Tell me about your trip.
We were all over Italy.
Really?
All over. So my grandmother's brother is still alive, and in 2020 we were supposed to go for his 95th birthday,
Mhm.
and that got canceled.
Okay.
So then we had to wait a couple years to go, and we had a whole cruise planned. So we flew out to Venice, and from Venice to Rome, and then the cruise went all over. It went actually to 2 stops in Greece, Croatia, Montenegro, and
really?
then back up Sicily and Livorno, I think it was. We did Pompeii, and then we stayed in Sorrento so we could do Capri, and we visited relatives in Terracina. It's like in between Rome and Naples.
Wow.
It was the trip of a lifetime.
That sure sounds like the trip of a lifetime. It
was.
really does.
And in all reality, I pretty much woke up every morning thanking God for that opportunity. Or my children were with us. There were 11 of us all together. I had, my aunt and my mom who spoke Italian, so that made it a lot easier. And connected with relatives that I, hadn't seen or in a few years and hadn't, ever met, and it was awesome. Yeah.
That sounds like an awesome trip. Wow.
Yep.
We, my wife and I had the opportunity to go to Italy. I traveled to Italy on business many years ago. My wife and I had the opportunity to travel there on a vacation together with our family too. So I know how wonderful it can be. We really want to do it again too. So we'll have to talk to you more about that.
Me
another
too.
time.
I was immediately like, can we go back next year?
Exactly.
It's like,
Let's do
no.
this.
He's like, by ourselves.
That's right. That's the way to do it then.
Yeah.
Erin, let me ask you a question. So because the series is about knowing and loving and serving God, tell us a little bit about your faith story. How did you come to know our Lord?
I believe that the foundation was laid for me by my parents. I did attend Catholic school. However, when I think about my most impactful memories, my dad's mother, my grandmom, she was my everything growing up. And I spent every weekend with her. I'd go to her house, and every Saturday, I can't remember, it was 4 or 5, we'd go to St. Pat's in Woodbury, and we would get there at least a half hour early. And all throughout Mass, she would pray the rosary. And she prayed the rosary every day, my grandmother. So I remember really my strongest memories, I would sit next to her, and I just remember my head on her shoulder as she prayed the rosary. And I remember when we would be home, she would be in a chair, and she would always have the rosary, and she would watch her shows and pray the rosary. She would get off the phone with a family member or a loved one, and she'd say, oh, we're praying for this person now. And I really just saw that for her, prayer was not about what she needed, but her way of, how she can help others and pray for others who she felt were in need. Her level of like, this is what I'm going to do for you. And so I think when I think back, it really was her, that she was really, always just trying to instill in me like how important it was to pray and to do for others. And then when I was in high school, I worked at Janino's, which is across from the high school, and I needed to go to Mass like fairly early. And my dad was the one who would be like always up and ready to go. So he was like my grandmother, where he'd want to be there early. And if you weren't ready, my dad would go without you. But similar experiences where I would sit next to him and I would just put my head on his shoulder. And I felt like I was connecting with them. And there are two very influential people who are no longer with me, but I still remember it. I feel that. After my dad passed, my mother, I think a lot of people, he passed fairly early in life. He was 58. And I felt like that was a time when a lot of people question and turn away or say why. And I saw my mom reaching more, like, like it was God was going to get her through this. And so I looked to her in that regard too, like kind of following her lead. We were all kind of lost.
Yeah. It
was unexpected. Well, I mean, kind of unexpected. He had cancer, but it was just, happened so fast. So, I think those were like my strong influences. I think it really goes to show you how important it is that you guide, your children, and so that, they recognize it's not just about going to Mass, but it's about kind of sharing in this, religion, sharing in this faith, and, just having it be part of you.
And it sounds like it really was a part of you. I mean, I just love when you spoke about placing your head on your grandmom's shoulder and your dad's shoulder. There's a real connection to prayer that's different about that. And I can see how that touched you and stays with you. But one of the things I always speak about with people is how we plant seeds in our children's lives and those people we meet. We share the faith, we plant seeds. We don't know who's going to water those seeds. We don't know how they're going to grow, but we know that if we plant them and if we try to provide the right soil, spiritual soil for a person, they will grow. And it sounds in your life that they planted great seeds and they've grown beautifully in you.
I hope so.
And you're able to share that so well with your family.
Yeah.
Are there any times that you actually can say that you felt God's love in your life?
Many times, many times. But I will say, when my dad was in the hospital, and they kind of called us all in, his siblings were there, and my brothers, my mom, some of my cousins, and we all held hands and we prayed. And I remember praying the Our Father together, and as soon as we said amen, the nurse said, I'm sorry. And it was like the very end of the prayer, like it was like he was there, and I just really felt like it was a blessing, like to be there in that moment and to have that memory of, I felt like his spirit was lifted, like right in our presence. And that moment when we said amen, it's unbelievable even looking back, but that was, I think, one of the strongest moments in my life. When my children were born, anything, like they're a gift. Like I think life is a gift. And I think when you look back, my son Jack, my middle son, I found out I was pregnant with him when we knew my dad wasn't going to make it. And he's named after my dad. And I felt like this was God saying, you're going to lose this person, that he's not going to be with you in present, but I also had this child to look forward to who was going to help, refocus and not so much take away the grief, but just give me a bigger purpose, that it wasn't going to just be loss. And in that moment, you think about losing a loved one, but then new life. And I think that that's how God works. That's always been my feeling with grief, that it's not, it's going to be there, but then there's also going to be these moments where God is going to say, I'm with you, and there's a purpose, and we may not always understand it, but I feel like it sometimes becomes known to us.
Sharing your love with others.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find yourself drawn to do that?
Rose. Love Rose.
Uh-huh.
No, I think, to be honest, I did mention that my husband was raised Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
When we were going through pre-Cana, there were certain things that I absolutely, I'm a person who, I'm trying to think of the word, I definitely compromised, but there were certain things that I wasn't going to compromise on.
Mm-hmm.
We were a family of faith, and we went to Mass, and we, it wasn't just, making sacraments, or it was part of who we were.
Mm-hmm.
And so I promised him that, if he allowed us to raise our kids Catholic, that it wouldn't just be, dropping them off at CCD and
Mm-hmm.
driving away and putting them in their faith in the hands of others, that I felt like, I would be part of that. It was challenging with my oldest, just because I had, 2 younger sons, but then as I started to become more present, I guess Rose kind of called me out and recognized, and I'm like, I can help. And
Mm-hmm.
I never had the confidence to be the CCD teacher, but I'm always willing to come in and help. And when I would drop Josh off in the summer program, I'm like, whoa, she needs help. I could just see it. So I felt that a calling, because I am a teacher, that, I have to use this gift to help, and as I became more involved, that made me feel like I was, keeping that promise to my husband, that it wasn't just going to be, they're going to make sacraments. And so everyone will see that, they get baptized, and, it wasn't about that for me. And I will say, my husband comes to church with us every week. And because I have a son who's a competition dancer, and we
Okay.
have a crazy schedule, and if there are times where he has to take Jack to church by himself, he'll do it. He's, I'm so grateful. I'm so blessed to have a person like him who supports us, and he tells the children, it's important when they try to do a little pushback, because they are kids, on being a teenager. But he's always, on my side with that. Nope, we go as a family, or we go to church. That's what we do. And
So it's very obvious that your faith is really a very, very important and part of your life. You could see that you live your faith in so many different ways. And I know also that love that you have, and that love that you spoke about, translates into service, because we see what you do for religious education. And I'm sure you're bringing that example to your children, so that they too learn how to take and share that love with other people.
Mm-hmm.
Is it fair if I say that's something that you're giving a good lesson to your children on?
yes, and absolutely. And I also love the opportunities that the Faith Formation Program gives to our children to be of service to others. They make it so easy for them to recognize that there are others who are in need, and it's not that difficult to give a few hours of your time, or do something that will help others. And I think that's one of the most wonderful aspects of this Faith Formation Program. I don't know that everyone always recognizes it, because I feel like a lot of times it's a check off the box type of thing. I have to do this, I have to do that, and it's not always about that. They need to know that it's not just, checking off a box, but it really is teaching children to give to others and, to give up their time.
As we close,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything you would like to share with anyone? Any thoughts that you have on anything else that you just want to be able to put out there for the viewers?
How important it is that we have the children in church at Mass, and how important it is as parents to be part of their faith. And I don't want to sound preachy, because I was that parent too, who kind of just dropped off my children and expected that they were getting what they needed, that who's ever in charge, who's ever teaching, they're going to educate them, and that's fine. And even if I just bring them to church every week, that's enough. And then I felt when I was trying to talk to my son about some of the things he was learning that it wasn't enough. I needed to be present as well, so that I can kind of reinforce what was being, said. And I know that not everyone can do that. Not everyone has the time to, go in or help, but there are situations where you could ask to, stay. There's a couple of times where I'm not even part of, Jack is doing confirmation, and I will drop him off, and as soon as he's done, he has dance. So I'll say to Rose, "You want me to stay, in case you need help with anything?" And she's like, "Sure," and it's just something like you don't realize, because a lot of it's like you think you're dropping your child off, and that's what the program is, but you could stay, and really kind of be a witness to what they're learning and what they're talking about, and then you can reinforce. And I think that's kind of important.
Outstanding message. Erin, I can't thank you enough for spending the time with us. Your words, I think, are inspiring. Hearing your story and understanding how important faith is in your life, right? To really live faith, and the wise words I think you share with our listeners is really important. And I know that people will be touched by it just as I am. So I want to thank you very, very much, Erin, for being with us. And God bless you always and your family.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.